don't remember everything that I mentioned, but I did also want to clip something out of that video that I had mentioned, so I'm going to do it now. But it's going to be a summed up version because it goes into that right there, the name. I try to, when I come up with titles, this is a personal preference. I'm sure not everybody thinks about it. I'm sure people are like, this is a great title, I am going to go with it. Screw anyone who has an issue. I have plenty of those moments. Redhead, temper, stubborn, you name it. A lot of people will see me in my more gracious attitude online because I silence a lot of stuff. Same with even during inside of friendships, because I don't think it's conducive to anyone to be a total icky head. I won't cuss. YouTube might not like me doing that. And I just don't think it's always appropriate. It does not get you too far in life to always treat people terribly. So often, even with the titles, that I will try to go out of my way to find a title that others don't use. What I had said, ooh, I'm getting eye twitchies. When I came up with the Dark Illusions title, I was getting ready to publish that book, and then I noticed that there was a major author, I don't remember who it is now, but she was someone who has been around and super successful in the paranormal romance realm for a while, and she had the same title. Not the exact, but I had originally had Dark Illusions named Awakened, the beginning, and she had used Awakened. A lot of people use Awakened for vampires, kind of as a symbol of, you know, what they are and everything. And I figured, okay, I am going to go ahead and change this because I do not want to compete with a major successful author who is already out here and have mine look like I'm just copying her work and I'm using it because she's using it. And it's the same thing as hers. I go out of my way to try to keep that separation, even if there are some things everybody does to help with marketing, like calling it paranormal romance when mine is more dark fantasy. It's not always about the sexual relationships as much as the people or vampires and their dynamics with others and how they interact with within their little subgroups and everything, as well as the bigger world. Though with my paranormal, why can't my mouth say that word today? I don't know. With my PNR, short version to use, I do try to also, you know, just let that other stuff come out as well, because that's a huge draw of those characters and that kind of writing. I will probably end up with plenty where I don't allow the more sexual relationships to show. I'm getting into the point where I guess it's age, me getting boring, I don't know. I want to slowly shut the door on those moments to allow readers to have their imaginations played with and let them decide what happens inside that room a lot of the time. So a lot of those stories and the stories that I now write don't tend to go too deep into that realm. Even if it says it's romance, it's about the connection. I like the depth of the connections between the characters and the dynamics and the growth and the maturity. As I said, it could just be I'm getting old and boring. but I don't buy into this new realm of let's have everybody go play with everybody else and don't commit and don't grow and deepen and find the passion that exists between those two people when they do find that connection and they do find that depth. I think you can actually have a far stronger connection and deeper passion between people as much as characters and relationships when you find that person and you just finally really connect and open up and commit to them. It's why Kat and Julian are a huge thing for me when it comes to passion, because it's not just, oh, you're someone I feel like I can get to know and it's exciting. It's they put in that work to really connect with each other, to really make it about each other, even though we see that Kat does have that growth period. And even Julian, in a way, does too, because he had a prior relationship with another, even though it wasn't really a relationship. It was just they were doing their duty effectively. There was nothing really deep there. It is also about a play into the soulmate connection or twin flame or divine partner is another term that they use, because there's definitely that too. When you find that higher connection and you two just seem to sync up and you are willing to put in the work and grow with each other and be completely open and naked to one another long before you are physically naked, I think there is also that huge growth of passion that happens between people like that, or in this case vampires. But anywho, so what I had done with Dark Illusions is decided that I was going to create a different name. So one of the things, I don't remember where I read this. It might have been for something for marketing. For other stuff besides books, a lot of my marketing and a lot of my education around that, I branch out for business in general as much as author marketing. I also have experience because I had sold Avon for 10 years, so for that kind of business stuff and that kind of education around it, I kind of bring into the mix. So I can't say for sure where I learned this, but it has proven for me to be very beneficial, and I will even let you know what that is because anyone who follows me on social media will see it happen. It basically is, if you are struggling with a title, that's usually when I do it. If something doesn't click or you just want to try to see if your idea is going to pull in attention, because that's really the biggest thing with a title. You want something that brings in attention. The title, the cover, all of that is the window. I can't think of the proper way to put it, but the window. When someone's walking past, they're like, "Ooh, what's in here?" And they stop and they want to read more to see what else is there. That cover and that title is usually one of the first things that you have to grab attention. So I try to make titles relate, even if not directly. Like if it's a werewolf book, I'm not going to necessarily call it a wolf something or moon something. I have plenty of those. I use the fonts that represent it, but those are usually things that already kind of have connected with me, and I have the names I don't want to switch up. But if a title is not doing well, I will switch it up. I think far too many get into this bad habit of staying with something even if it's not working, and then they complain that it's not working, you gotta be willing to adjust. Stick with stuff, yes. But at the same time, if you can switch just the title because that one's not doing any good, why would that hold you back? Just because you really like that title and think it's the most amazing thing on the planet. I have switched a few of my titles up, like my Time of the Chosen. I had gotten 0 sales for over a year, with the cover being focused more on sci-fi, because there is science fiction in that, and the culling cycle was what it was called. And I realized I need to play into the fantasy element more, because this is not doing me any good. Nobody is caring about this. I see the point. I see what's wrong. I see where I did wrong with it. I really loved the cover. Really loved that title because it went into what the book was about. The culling cycle. They cull down who's wrong so that they could find the one they were looking for. Well, I decided, okay, let's play into the fantasy element. And when I figured that out, Time of the Chosen came up into my mind, and I was like, this feels like it's a right way to go with this. And then I came up with the cover. I'll pop it up here so that you can draw in more attention by altering things up. And that's what I did. I switched it up, and then people started actually paying attention to it and enjoying it. And there was actually people complimenting me on the cover and the title and the font, because I built up that font from a font I had seen and created that one off of a few different fonts. Oh, I gotta adjust. My seat is not comfy. And so my trick with figuring out titles often, if I am struggling, as I said, I don't remember where I learned this, or I would explain where so you could find it out, but I had read something that said come up with 10 titles. Sometimes people will use poetry or lyrics. You have to be very careful with that, copyright and all. But you come up with about 10 titles. 10 is a good number. That feel good, seem good, sound good, anything that might relate to the story, whether closely or not. I personally like to play on words, so often we'll choose stuff with a few different meanings of connection, and then you have people vote. Let it narrow down. A few of those will be clear choices. You ask for their thoughts, so that if there's a title that stands out that you really liked, but it's giving a vibe of something you don't want, then their feedback helps you. Like, what was it? There was this title. I don't remember which one it was. But one of the titles that I had chosen, they were giving me feedback that said, personally, they don't like any of them, and they don't like the theme of it because it came off to, what was it? I think it was like a comic-y book feel, a certain type that they did not like. So I considered who they were, their interests, because fortunately this was someone I had been Facebook friends with for long enough. I had seen their work and seen what they relate to and everything, so that kind of helps consider the source. But I was thinking, okay, that is actually for what this is the vibe I do want to go with. So the it was a contrast of opinions. So I told them straight out I appreciated that feedback because it actually worked for me in how I wanted it to come across. So it actually, for them, it was a critique in a negative, not trying to be mean or anything, just honest feedback meant to help me. But for them, that particular kind of theme and everything was, they didn't really like it. It wasn't an interest of theirs. But it, for me, because of what the title was, I thanked them because I said, that's actually what I'm going for. I want that kind of thought process in someone's head. I wanted that theme and genre to play into someone's head when they read that, because that's kind of where this is at. That's the fun of creating titles and stuff like I did with this one. I had created this title because I had found nobody had it many years ago. I saw it nowhere. I feel like I have nose hair in my nose. I had created it a long time ago. I had seen no books with it. I had seen nobody using the title for anything. I usually will search it on Amazon, Google, Bing. I will try to find any instance and whether I want to compete against that, which is usually a no, or come up with something else, yes. And I had found nothing. Now if you go search Savage Lands, you will see, especially because I put my name on this, so it looks like I published it after the other book. I don't know the author's name, but I went, well, that was fun. I thought I was being pretty creative. So newsflash for anyone who wants to be original, that will happen. You will either come up with the exact name unintentionally as somebody else if you don't really work to try to be stepping out of that, or unintentionally you and somebody else might publish at the same time with the same name and not have any idea until suddenly you come across it. That's happened to me a lot too. I've gotten story ideas where suddenly a movie comes out advertised on TV and I'm going, that's literally my plot that I thought I was being super original with. And it's their original new story idea. It's the exact one you might have come up with and you hadn't yet wrote, or you were writing and we're going to publish, or you haven't edited it and all that. So those are fun times. So just be aware, all that kind of stuff. You can only be individual so far with creative ideas. But my little thing with titles is you get 10 ideas, jot them down, tell the people, I just want your feedback. I'm not going to give you too much context because this is something that I want to be attention grabbing, popular. That's the whole point of titles. Tell me what grabs your attention. Narrow those down. Then get yourself some more to make up another 10 and use the popular ones from the previous list. For me, it actually usually narrows down to 3 usually. Sometimes it's 5. Just depends. Do it again. If you're still not narrowing it down with a clear winner, do another round. Don't be afraid to keep pushing. Just don't do it, 50 times. Try to only do it like less than 5. I think the max I did was 3. Might have ended up going 4 times on one of them, but 3 I think was the max. Because then if I can recall correctly, which that's a 50-50 chance, it's that you will end up with maybe 3 that stand out that you gotta just let sit. Write them down, let them sit, percolate, think about. So that's what I usually do. I will either come up with a cover at that time and use those names on it, or I will just write down the names and just let them sit and percolate for a while. And then that will help you figure out a title for your work. So that's what professional hair. So that is what I sometimes do. With this one, I think I was able to come up with it myself because I was trying to come up with some kind of dystopian creepy world thing. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I will talk to you soon. More to come as usual.